Okay, so let's look at putting PV panels on the roof of this. And cancel out, I was doing a little bit of... So the way we're going to do that is we're going to make a roof that is actually a curtain wall system so we can panelize it. So we're going to start with creating a roof. So I'll go to the site plan. And I need to close off. Let me just, excuse me, Control W. This is my last experiment with that. So I'm just going to close those off. And we're going to make a roof. So I'm going to go to roof, roof by footprint. I want to make sure define slope is off. And I'm really not concerned with what roof I'm creating right from the start. I just want to build it and make sure it's connected to top of steel. Let's go ahead and look at that in 3D view. So now you can imagine, let's take this roof and we're going to make it into a curtain wall system. And they actually have a curtain wall for that. So I'm going to go to slope glazing. So that makes a curtain wall system that can be panelized. And I'll go to edit type. And I'm going to create a new one. So I'll duplicate this. And I'll call this PV panels 3. Only because I've been doing this a couple of times to experiment before I started recording. Now we're going to actually import that PV panel that we're going to create and call that the curtain wall panel. And I want you to, these settings right now for you are saying none. So I want them to be fixed distance, obviously, and then 32 feet 6, which is the spacing of our half grid system, so to speak. And we don't need any mullions in the system. So I'm going to check none on that. And we're going to click OK. And I have previous mullions, so it's going to ask me to delete those. Now, you don't really see any difference here, but if I tab in here, you'll notice that we highlight one of the curtain wall panel systems, and you can see how it perfectly lines up with the grid system that we've created. So now what we need is actually those PV panels to populate that curtain wall panel system. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to New, and create a new family. In English Imperial, we're going to go to curtain wall panel, not pattern based, but just the panel itself. We're going to open that. And it's a little bit confusing because this is the exterior. We're looking at this plan view right now. So if we really want to look at it from the face, so to speak, to see what our panel would look like in its correct orientation, I'd have to go like to the exterior view. So this is like looking down on it now. And these are really small grids that are set up. This needs to actually be 16 foot 3 inches. Just to give you a good estimate of the size. So it's 16 feet 3 inches. So I'll need to really stretch these grids up. This needs to be 32 foot 6. I don't know why I'm not getting any hinting there. There I am. So we want 32 foot 6 inches. Oops. And now we have the full layout of what our system will look like. And I'm just pulling these up so we have some grids to pull our panels to once we start constructing them. So this is our 32 foot 6 inch square grid. And that's good enough. Let's make sure though, I want to make sure that I don't make an error in here. This should say 32 feet 6 inches. And it does, so I can delete that. And we're ready to make our first kind of panel. So I'm going to go to create an extrusion. We'll make our solar panel out of an extrusion. We'll use the rectangle tool, start in the top corner. Let's say we'll make these panels 2 foot by the full length. So I'm going to adjust that size, but I'm going to lock these two to the extents of the panel system that we're making. And then I'll come in here and I'll grab this and I'll set this right to 2 feet. And before I click complete, I don't want to extrude those a foot thick. I really only want it to be like, say, 2 inches thick. And we'll complete that off. And then we'll look at that maybe from the right side view. Zoom extents. And there we have our first panel in place. It says it's on the exterior, and I'm not quite sure, but I think it's a little bit our panel is facing in the other direction. So let me try to extend this line up. Got to unpin it. Well, that looks fine. So let's leave that panel there. Let's give it a little bit of a rotate as if we were tilting it. So I'm going to place the center of rotation at the top corner here and maybe give it, let's say, 15 degrees of tilt. And then let's just duplicate a bunch of them down. So I'm going to use the copy command and multiple, and we'll space them 4 foot on center. I'm not using the array tool because somehow that seems to lose the constraint of the panel to the width of the frame that we make. At least that was my experience the last time I ran through this. I'll leave the last one empty because that'll be the space which is kind of like the repeat. So let's look at this now from the reference level. And let's go ahead and save this. So I'll do a file and I'll do a save as a family. And I'll call it PV panel 2, which is what, and we'll replace that because I've already created one. We'll go ahead and load that into the project. And then we'll try to grab the roof and then edit that panel type. So we wanted to select that PV panel 2. We'll apply that. And now we have a PV panel system in there. The only thing we don't have, if we were to look, oops, don't exactly know what I just hit. There we go. I think that's close enough for our experimentations. The only other thing is we might want to add a little extra structure to the PV panels to give them a little more support. So I'm going to leave that. You can decide if you, this really isn't complete because these panels probably wouldn't be able to cantilever all the way out here. But for now, for this part of the project, I'll leave it that way. So, so we're good to go to look at some of the other issues about loading the system up.